Most people think that they're okay in the box, and yet they don't recognize that their income is okay, keeping them on the edge of just being alive. And yet when there's a moment like this where you cop a fine, you cop a bill, you cop a tax bill, your family has to go to hospital, you have to pay for someone's cancer treatment, do you freak the fuck out? Because you don't recognize that everybody's just living on the box. And the moment that something comes across and smacks you over the head and says, here you go, here's 30 grand that you have to pay. Here's 16 grand that you have to pay. If you don't have the ability to produce, you freak the fuck out.
That's what we're asking. That's what we're talking about. My man.
Having a little latte, bro. Look at this. Little latte in Palm Beach. Custard Canteen. You haven't been to Custard Canteen and you live on the Gold Coast, you got to get your ass down to Custard Canteen. Alex, good morning.
Morning. I was going to say my man, but you don't like me calling you.
I don't like my man. You're up early. You're up early streaming in. And so we're just hitting up the group. We're inside of the HPF group at the moment. If you're here, then there's a very good chance that you're a father. You've been lurking around for a while. You've been watching Alex run the show. He's been running a really, really good show. Al, the show that you've been running has been amazing, man.
So good so that you have to step in now and help.
So good. So good. But with upgrades come the upgrades. And so, men, we need your help. So my name is Lintrin. If you don't know, you don't know, but you'll get to know me. And obviously, you know the man here, the Mr. Tall White Guy, Alex Ranieri. So we're in the game of helping men kind of get through this second half of their life. Okay, that's kind of what we do here. Like, because we realize how hard it is, isn't it, Al?
It's impossible.
Like I told you this yesterday. On one hand of the spectrum, I'm running marketing strategy with tens of millions of dollars for our companies, right? On one end, I'm thinking about marketing. I'm thinking about what's the next move? How do we run this funnel? How do we actually recruit, hire, build teams? And then on the next thing, the thought of Coco Melon runs through my mind. Like literally, they're fucking like, twinkle, twinkle, like just the thought of like on repeat. So fathers have the hardest jobs because we're no longer in that stage where we're 18, we're 19, we're 20, we can just hustle, work all the time. We can neglect our girlfriends and neglect sleep and just work, right? And I had a really great extended period of time doing that. But right now it's like the reasons why you're up at 3 a.m. Why are you up at 3 a.m.? Why?
Oh, man. You told me to. Accountability. Yeah, man. It's so we can actually get into some deep work, produce, hunt, build, work on our business. All the things that when it comes to the day and our children, our family, our responsibilities, we're just putting out fires all day and all the different hats that we supposedly have to wear. Man, we get so much done, don't we? Between 3 and 6:30, it's insane.
Yeah, it's
I
ridiculous.
call it my day one. Yeah,
it's ridiculous. And I found this out. It's like by the end of the day, I thought about this. Like we've got kids during the day. We're good fathers because we want to be there for our children. We can work remotely, which we're very blessed to have. Not a lot of men have the opportunity that we have to have, which plays a huge part in this. But I think at the end of the day, when we're trying to work on the business and we're trying to have strategic thoughts and ideas, we've got nothing left because we've had to go through dinner time, we've had to go through bath time, we've had to emotionally, like just hearing kids cry, man. Like so, fuck, like emotionally just drains the fuck out of everybody. Drains you, drains me, drains Kerry, drains Corinne, I'm sure, right? And so by the end of it, by about 7 or 8 o'clock, I just want to like wrap shit up, execute, and get onto some stuff. So the thought process is, well, what do we do? Because the kids wake up, like Atlas is up at 5 a.m. And I feel like if I get up at 4 a.m., which is very, very early still for the normal person, that's just not enough time. Like that's enough for me to wake up, have a coffee, wash my face, and fucking like go, all right. And then so the 3 a.m.s were born. Like we were just like, dude, we just have to do it because if you want to grow, there is work that has to be done that's not getting done. And the only way that it will get done is to carve out time in the day to get it done. And it was just this moment. It's like, well, can we do anything in the afternoon? No strategic work, working on the business. And you know, you and I had a chat and I was like, it's because there's tension where everybody's around. We know the teams are around, people are around, clients are around. We're going to get fucking pulled. Our brain, it's too weak to resist not jumping in and trying to solve all the problems. right? And so that's something that you and I have to work on. So how have the 3 a.m.s been working for you, bro, in terms of
Ah,
productivity?
phenomenal, man. To the point where I've been doing like I call it the morning music for the members on the inside now. So obviously,
What do
me
you do?
talking is the music, but
You text them as
this
well, don't you? You text the members. You go, "Hey, rise and shine,
yeah,
motherfuckers."
every morning. So we've got a hashtag Rise to Win. That's like our war cry, and mate, there's a lot of boys between sort of 3:30 and 4:30 now that are adopting it even this
Good,
week because I've been doing this for about a month now,
good.
and did it a lot when Lillian was actually the exact same spot you're at now. My kids are a bit older, so when like Atlas is obviously Lillian was the same age when I had two. You know, all the courses and all the books and things I was creating, man, it was like 2, 3 a.m. wake ups, funnily enough, exact same time. But then I haven't done it, man, for a couple of years. But it's
I
so,
think that's
so
it,
good.
man. Like you quite often, like it's just these moments where you have to sprint, right? And the
Yeah.
the early excuse is like, everyone's so much inside of their business trying to survive, trying to put out fires that we often hear there's no time to work on the business. When do I ever get to work on it? And then by the time you want to work on it, you've like your brain fried and you've got cocoa melon ringing inside of your head. So the whole
Yeah.
idea is like being able to carve out this time, the 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. to literally just go, okay, here's your opportunity to work on your business so that you can actually build momentum, and all the shit that you're struggling with, that you're complaining about yesterday, the day before, today, slowly you can chip away so that you can build things. So that shit doesn't happen anymore. Okay, the reasons why people don't ever get to work on their business is because they're in it and then they say they don't have time. Well, the reality is, well, you have to make time. And so these are one of the critical things. So the reasons why you and I are going live inside of the group is because the mission of HPF is, quite frankly, to help men and fathers, okay, or help men take on and dominate the responsibility of being a father. Okay, and I want to use this language specifically. We help men dominate, like not just be a good father on societal standards, not to be like, oh, you're a good dad, you play with the kids. Oh, you're a good dad. I wish my husband would play with the kids. We hear that shit all the time. Like we just hear it from wives. I just hear passing comments, and I'm like, you don't know if I'm a good dad. Like, what does that even mean? How does that even? Huh?
Yeah. You saw the post I did yesterday. There's a
Yeah.
picture of me and Roman at the park, and I said, am
What do
I a
people
great
say?
father because I've taken Roman to the park, A, B,
Yeah.
or C? And everyone's going, A, you're a great dad. A couple of guys are like, oh,
Okay.
it depends on whether you're present or not. But there's only one guy who said, yeah, if you can afford it, but if you don't bring the money in, what do you say? Wifey won't be happy. Something I was
Yeah.
like, this guy interesting. But yeah,
Yeah.
you're right, man. Everyone was like, yeah, you're a great dad, Al, because you posted a
And,
picture
and
that
that's
you're at the
and
park with
that's
your son.
where we've been kind of misled. Okay. So
Yeah.
so it's not to say that doing those things isn't good. Like those should be done. But you can't do those things and neglect your main responsibilities. Okay. It's kind of like if I hire to bring you in as a CEO and you're just chatting to people all day and you're like, hey, I'm building relationships. And I've hired you as a CEO to run the company, to grow the company, to say, hey, we need to grow this channel by 25%. You need to make sure we're more efficient here by 30%, et cetera, et cetera. You come in and you're just chatting to everybody and everyone likes you and everyone's like, oh, you're a great CEO. My last CEO didn't do this. Now, the reality is, are you a great CEO? Well, the answer is no, because you've neglected your responsibilities, which is the reasons why I actually brought you in. But to other people, they're like, he's a great CEO because he's actually talking to everybody. So if you talk to everybody and you do the icing on the cake, but you neglect the main thing, are you a good dad? Are you a good CEO? The answer is no. And so the reality is and the reasons why this is so important is because as you neglect your responsibilities as a father, you're building shit on a house of cards. Like you're really lasting temporarily, minutes and hours with your wife until you have a stupid argument about money, right? Until you have a stupid argument about, why she left the fridge door open and why the light's still on downstairs, or why your daughter broke a cup and why the fuck that even really truly matters, and why you blow your stack. And the reality is, well, if you actually think about it, 99% of fight triggers is financial. It's trained. And we know this. Look at this, man. Like on the news, there's everywhere. There's more theft going on in Coles and Woolies at the moment because people can't afford shit because shit's so expensive. Prices of fuel is going up, right? We talk about these problems. But you need to be in a place where it's like, hey, you need to take care of your shit so much that it's like impenetrable. Like if you're worried about fuel going up from $1.90 to $2.10, which it will, and it's going to go up more, and you're worried about food prices going up, you are so close to the line of like, man, like any morning you could get wiped out, that you need to recognize that you're barely just fucking surviving. It's not a good place to be in. It's a place that every man that isn't privileged enough to have a billionaire father pass it on. And that's everybody, right? We're not, every man faces this responsibility, which is, how do I make sure that my wife and children are comfortable first? How do I make sure they have food in their mouth? And then how do I make sure that, that we go on to that next level, which is, how do we stop fighting about stupid shit? And then how do we get to that point where, hey, like we can go to a restaurant once a week and they can order what they want. And then how do we get to a point where we just go to and buy a cafe and I take the kids out for brekkie every morning and we have some toast and eggs and fucking like that. That's that. And it's just levels. It's just different levels that as a man, you're going to notice that money gives you patience. And I said this to you, I've said this to you a few times, haven't I? I've said money buys time, time allows patience.
Yes.
And so most men are fucking struggling. They're out there. They're getting their ass handed to them. They're getting their balls busted. They're working. They're fucking like, they're just working in the business. They don't, by the time they're home, they're so fucking tired, right? They can't work on their plan. They can't work on another business. They can't work on a skill. So, whatever you're doing, you're a tradie, you're a trucker, you're working in Coles, retail, whatever the case is, fantastic. Like you're there, you're providing. But the reality is, it's not enough. It isn't. Because even though you're doing your best, it's not what's required. And until you do what's required, then you will continue to struggle with the nagginess of the burden of the family, the wife, the responsibilities, the expectation, the, oh my God, this is not fair. How dare she expect that of me? The one thing is, where can we help you? Where can myself and Alex, we're on the same journey too, man. Like I said, we're just a few steps away from the shit show, like from the gastro epiphany that I'm like, hey man, I'm just a few steps away from this place too. We need to grow. We need to adapt some skills. We need to do bigger things. We need to grow. And so the whole idea is that it's fucking lonely because you don't get, I can't sit there and talk to Kerry about all the shit I have to deal with. She just, like for her, of course she wants me to open up about it, but the reality is, she would not respect me if I started to cry about it. If I started to go, baby, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can do this for you. It's just so hard. This burden is too big, right? And so we can't talk to our wives about this. Our children will never understand, okay? And nor should they have to. The reality is, like for me, for a long time out, I'm just like, man, Ocean, I just wish you could respect me because you knew how much shit I had to go through. And I'm like, man, like the moment she becomes a mum, she's just going to understand. Like life will help her understand. I don't need to help her understand. I came to that realization. But the whole point about of us coming into this is, where do you need help? Where do we need help? And not just from myself and now, but where are others that can contribute and help? Where are the accountants in this side of this group? I know you got some fucking smart accountants in this group that can help out with tax strategy, right? Where are the lawyers inside of this group? There are plenty of men getting their ass sued and divorced. Where are the lawyers that can help other men inside of this group? Where are kind of the business strategists that can come in and go, hey, like we can help work on your small business? Where can we bring in people? And maybe if you comment down below and let us know, we can actually start to interview you. We can start to shine a light on you. We can start to share. Because the reality is, doing all of this on your own, doing all of this, you don't understand like how important, how important is it for you to know that you're not doing this on your own, that you have other guys like myself who understand the situation.
Oh man, it's huge. Couple of key things, and everyone's probably heard the sum of the 5 people you hang around. So the first thing is, that's absolutely true. So if you're in a position now where you're not quite happy with where life is at, yet you're left to your own devices, then you're repeating the same thought processes and cycles. So if I'm on my own, Lynn, how could I ever grow or improve or change? Because I'm working with the materials and ingredients that has got me in a position where I want to work to be better. And I don't have that. So one, it's good from that perspective because I've actually got, like yourself, we laugh about me I shouldn't be here and that sort of stuff because I'm sort of the anomaly to some degree from where I've come from. However, it's because of you and the environment.
You're not the anomaly. It's more so like, man, like how does somebody that came from no money, which you and I came from no money, absolutely no money, from the bottom. And when you're at the bottom, you're like, you're at the bottom. You've been forced by everybody to say, hey, man, you're at the bottom. This is what you deserve. You're not supposed to do that. You've got all these stories. So you're at the bottom of the mountain. And at the bottom of the mountain is actually the hardest because you've got the weight. Okay, first you have identity issues because you play small because everyone has told you that you're small the whole life and not to think too big, and you've seen all your friends fail, and you just hang around people that aren't winning. It's hard. You're just around, you're around a whole bunch of people that are losing. There are a whole bunch of people that are losing and complaining. Okay, so that's why the bottom's hard. Secondly, you don't have that self-belief. Okay. Thirdly, you don't have a strong environment of friends because like everyone's really a bum around you. They're just kind of getting by. They're accepting society standards. Say you work too hard. And it's hard because at the bottom, you don't know any fucking better. So you're just listening to what everyone else is saying. So you buy into their shit. It's really hard being at the bottom. And why it's so hard being at the bottom to get yourself up is because one, you don't believe in yourself. Why? Because your whole life. Why? What belief, evidence has there been for you to believe in? There's been zero. Okay, people around you will tell you stories and try to hold you back because they keep failing, and so they scare the fuck out of you. Okay, so that's two. So every day you wake up scared. You don't even believe in yourself at the bottom. What chance does it have for somebody at the bottom to get to out of the bottom? And that's why so many people don't make it. It's not because they don't have the information, the knowledge. It's because it's the self-belief, it's the people around them. And so I think the biggest thing that I have and you have is kind of a form of brotherhood to literally just go, hey, we've got a band of men that we're around that will call us out. You will look at me and you go, hey, man, you're a bit pudgy. You call it cortisol abs disease, right? He looks at it because this is where I'm storing it. So it's like he makes fun. And most people will go, well, that's shaming. And I go, I genuinely think men need that kind of kick up the ass. That's the language. We don't need to go, hey man, you're looking like a little bit soft, and no feelings hurt, because men in itself love to compete. And I would love to go, oh, you're saying that about me? You just watch this space. I'll come back stronger. I'll beat you. Right? And that's the competitive drive inside of men that I feel like we have that's different to women. And so what's happened is we've had to soften our tone because we've listened, okay, to the females' rise and all the advice. We've listened to that and we're like, holy shit, and we're now scared. It's like, no, man, like if you're fat, I'll tell you you're fat. And I'll egg you on. And it's like this degree of shaming to actually make you better. I'm going to shame you to make you better. And so the world's just weird because we went through this enlightenment period where shame was such a bad thing. And I go, wait, there's good shame. There's shame to bring you up. There's shame because I want to see you do better, because I know you can do better. I know I can do better. And so the thought process behind the group is, where are the men? Where are the men, and why are we going alone? Like, why are we going alone? Why, there's 5,000, 6,000, almost 6,000 men inside of this group, and yet I don't know what anybody does. There's plenty of business owners that fucking have great restaurants. There's plenty of business owners that probably run a butcher that we can talk to. There's plenty of business owners that are accountants, lawyers, etc., and yet it's crickets. And so this is a call out. This is the next invitation to literally just comment down below. What do you do? What do you do? How do we help? How can we serve? How do we get you out there? How can you help? How can you help other men? Because like we alluded to earlier before we changed the topics, we can't talk to the wives about this. As much as you think you can. You probably can. You could probably tell them once. They may act strong and they may go, yeah, but you've just literally planted a seed of doubt. And unless you come back from that, unless you show action and show results, you're going to open up that gap. And it's constantly why so many women doubt their husbands, because there's just gaps everywhere. There's a big talk, there's a gap in the void. Okay. Al, is there anything you'd like to add to this?
I think you hit the nail on the head, man. What we're talking about here is environment. And one, knowing that you're not alone, but two, not feeling like you're not capable because you're at the bottom with everyone else that's losing. Yeah. It's really hard to get to the top of the mountain, but that's why I love this brotherhood. So we talk about calling out, right? If you said that I'm fat, like without the tonality and the bullying to some capacity, but it's a fact, man. If I got a problem with it, that's my problem. But how much have I changed? Like you've seen me now, man. I've shaped up. I dropped 14 kilos from when I was going through, of course, ill health a few months ago, but still, you calling me out in a genuine way because you're my brother, right? So when it's a genuine way in the brotherhood, you can actually be harder. You can be even harder And I
Correct.
like that. I'd rather someone, because I know, I'm like, this guy fucking loves me, man. He's got my back, so he can actually be even more
And I
ruthless.
said this too, man. Like many times you're going, hey man, I've been sick, and I'm like, okay, well let's play this out. How'd you get sick? Oh, the kids got sick. Okay. Well, like I'm like, well, what are the kids doing getting sick? You're like, well, they're going to school. Of course they're going to get sick. They have to get sick. And I'm like, well, what are they doing going to school? And then it becomes a game of what? Well, shit, I have not leveled up enough as a man to produce, to provide, to fucking create our own school, to create private education. So that's the game, right? And I go, what are they doing at school? And so the shift is there's always a frame. I want everybody to kind of hear this when there's nothing to complain about. It's just like David Goggins says something fucking amazing, and it's the Roger that attitude. It's like, all right, I'm sick. Cool. Now, do I want to keep getting sick? Why do I get sick? The kids are always getting sick. Okay, where are the kids? Okay, they're here, here, and here. Okay, cool. So why are they here, here, and here? Well, they're here and here and here because they have to be here. And I haven't produced enough financially in order to actually not take them there. I would like to. Okay, cool. So that becomes the why. I want to stop getting sick because the kids are getting me sick, and the reasons why the kids, it all tracks back. And there's this Roger that mentality that I really truly love, and I've a lot of people talking about taking extreme ownership, and it's like, yeah, but in the moment, you're not thinking, oh, how do I take ownership? You literally just have to go Roger that, and it forces your brain into an action state as opposed to even a triggered, not even, you don't even get a second to think about what just happened. You're like, oh shit, well this happened, Roger that. And it's one of the best things that I've always had to remind myself, like, in the last couple of months. Shit's going to get hard, Roger that. Okay, cool. Kids have made a mess. The house is a fucking mess, Roger that. Like, it just helps you get into an action. Like, it is what it is. It's a really interesting one, man. I'd love to do like a full talk about how hard it is at the bottom. Like, to the place that you see now, where you are, because at the bottom, when you started out with me first, you came in to the mentorship program, and you started out, and you were just like, oh my god, I've got all these other people. I'm at the bottom, and you weren't even at the bottom. And we're talking like you're at the bottom of a group of business people, right? But then if we expand that out, you're not even at the bottom, like of the world of men. And so you started out at the bottom, and it's petrifying because you don't have any self-belief. There's all this self-doubt. You're too small. You think other people are bigger than they are. They're just not. It's just, if you're willing to persist, try, and stay the course and never quit, then you'll get to the top. And it's like, it's impossible to fail. It's impossible to not win.
Do you think it's ignorance? Do you think ignorance is the reason why people just don't try and push away from the pain and break through? Because I look back now, and it obviously took more work than I thought, but at the same time, I couldn't imagine going back to
I think people have been sold a lie in terms of there's they have to work X amount. Just their whole paradigm of how they think about life in terms of, hey, like, I'll work and then I'll retire, and then, oh, you should be put, like, there's so many like stigmas and stereotypes and sayings out there that just stick to you. You should always put money in real estate and save your money and invest, and you should be looking at retirement, and you should always play it safe, and all this shit, right? It's like we all grow up with the same shit. I'm like, okay, well, like, tell me, how do I make money in real estate? Everyone that wants to make money in real estate, like it's some magical thing, and it's really not, right? So there's a lot of preconceptions and pre-notions that we've been adopted with. You should go to school, you should get a good job, you should go buy a house, you should go buy houses and buy as many houses as you can fucking can, because that's the goal, right? So we're kind of stuck in this box. And the moment you start to recognize that the box is recognizing that you will win if you learn a skill, and if you become the best at what you do, and you never stop growing, and you never stop improving on that skill, and you never stop figuring out how to serve more people and solving a particular problem, right? So it doesn't matter what business you're in, or it doesn't matter if you're a contractor, trader, freelancer. I don't care what it is. If you just get better at solving that problem, then you'll win. And the reality is, most people just don't or aren't wired that way to go down the Goggins path, which is to do whatever it takes to win. We're not. We're wired in a way where we initially, when we're first kind of born, it's like, oh, we'll do bare minimum. And everyone tries to do bare minimum because they think that that's the smart way. Like that's the, everyone tries to do bare minimum because they think they're being smart. They're like, oh, I'm being smart, right? I need to just do bare minimum and minimum output, minimum input, maximum output. And the reality is you're not really being smart. What you need is it doesn't matter how smart you are. If you're not willing to work hard and you're not willing to make iterations and improve, you'll win. You'll lose. Because I bet you somebody else is. And that person's always going to beat you. To go back to your question, why do people fail? I think they've been set up and they've been born into a society that just says shit. We say so much shit, like as a society, that we have no idea. If you ask people, why do they say that shit? Oh, why am I a good dad just for playing with my kids? They're like,
Yeah.
why? Well, yeah, because like I'm so shocked. Like, so you just hear all of these sayings and it's put on you and nobody's questioned why. Does that make sense? Like, does it make logical sense? All of this shit.
Created a bit of a prison, just like the time for money. I remember seeing Jim Rohn, and it was a really big breakthrough for me. I saw it a while ago, where he's like, you don't trade time for money. Otherwise, why aren't you getting paid when you're at home? You get paid for the value you bring, not for the hours you spend. And I was like, that's so true. But people just buy into it. I'll work 8 hours and this is how much I'm going to get paid. It's like, no, you're not getting paid for time. You're getting paid for your value.
Correct. Or I need to save money. I need to save $10 a day. If I put aside if I stop drinking this coffee, and I'll save this money and put it into an investment property. And it's like, okay, but this actual smarter way would be to have your coffee and fucking live. And whilst you're having your coffee, you can think about problems to solve. And then whilst you're drinking the coffee and nearly finish the coffee, you can actually go and pitch somebody to solve that problem and solve it in a better way and get paid instead of saving that coffee. Part of being a Viking, as you say, is just being able to go out there and go, look, I'll sort it out. I think one of the things that I can say women, Kerry, loves is just going, hey, like, let's get the thing that you want and I'll sort it out. As opposed to going, no, we need to fucking save money. We need to do it like that. That talk is literally like the worst talk because it says, as a man, you're scared. We need to save money because I'm scared. I can't produce. Yeah. As opposed to a producer going, you know what? I'll figure it out. Roger that. You want this? Totally. My wife should totally deserve this because she's nurturing the next generation of my legacy, the legacy that I only have, right? So if you're looking after my legacy, the only thing that I like literally lives on beyond me as I die, and you're building, of course you deserve this. So I think it's really interesting in terms of mindset with men, in terms of like we need to save. And the reasons why we need to save is because the man can't produce. Now the man can't produce because he's trapped in a box. He's trapped in a box believing all these things. Okay. And if he stepped outside of the box and started to recognize that he would earn based on his ability to solve a problem extremely well, not just solve a problem, because everyone solves problems, but your competition solves problems, but you got to solve that better than anybody else. Okay. You got to solve it better, make it possibly more affordable, or make the experience better and actually innovate. Now, if you do that correctly, well, you're going to be better than 90% of people. And so you shouldn't have any business problems. And once you learn that skill to produce and you master it, then it's like, fuck, you realize, shit, you can get almost anything you want in this world if you're willing now with that skill to work it to the fucking bone. And I just don't think and a lot of guys and a lot of men are trapped in the box. And so they can't even comprehend what you and I are really talking about until you step outside of the box. And I understand because I remember when I was a personal trainer, this was not even too long ago, man. This was like, 2014, maybe 11 years ago, right? Kara and I were dating. I'd walk through Melbourne CBD. I probably had like $500 cash left in my bank or whatever it is, as you do when you're 20. But I'm walking around and I just I'm looking at all these buildings and I'm looking at all these shops and I'm just thinking, how the fuck does somebody even afford a car? Like $30,000 car. How the fuck do they even pay for it? I don't even have $500. How do they afford $30,000 and then drop it on a car? How are these buildings in the Melbourne CBD, these tall buildings that cost, $25, $30 million, how are they getting built? Like my mind was blown because, and in that moment I started to recognize, shit, I can't even get to the car, let alone the building. I'll never own one of these buildings, but how the fuck do people even own it? But in that moment, there was a revelation to recognize that the vehicle that I was in, the little box, that if I keep earning, and as a personal trainer, I was making $60 an hour cash, right? Like some of the guys and some of the fathers are making half of that, and they're not making cash. As I'm sitting there and I'm going, all right, how many hours, how many clients do I have to train? How many fucking reps do I have to count? Okay, cool. Then we've got $2,000 a week. Okay, no worries. 2,000, 4,000 plus all my bills. I'm back to like 500 a week in profit if I don't spend, and I can save $500 a week. Dude, that would take a year and a bit. Okay, 52 weeks in a year. It'd take a year and a bit, like 60 weeks to make the car. Just for the car. 60 weeks. That's fucking like, it's not going to work out. There has to be a better way. And so I suppose that moment was when I started to actually explore. My mind was like going, well, what I'm doing is incorrect. And it just allowed me to open up to the idea that there is another way. There is a way where, and so it led me on journeys of internet marketing, fucking like, opening up little dental agencies and running ads for dentists and a myriad of other things. And can I sell supplements as well to my clients? And that, I created a little supplement company. And then I started to partner up and open up a studio with some people who had like 7 studios in Brisbane, and then they wanted to open in Melbourne. And I just said yes. Because the reality is I knew I was in the wrong vehicle. So I had nothing to lose. So I literally had to say yes to everything. The reality is most people in that box are saying no, firstly. They're going, no, right? They've even just quitted on themselves. They've even gone, it's not for me. It's not my life. I'm happier with my life. Or I don't think you are. I don't think you are, because there will come a time where fuel becomes so expensive, cost of living becomes so expensive, something fucking happens. Like, I'm going to tell you this. It's really fucking funny. So there's something that will happen inside of your life. You think that you're comfortable. There's something that will happen inside of your life. I have my cars on the company. I've registered my cars with Vic Roads or whatever the roads are. It's all under the company, right? And we've had speeding fines. We've had 4 of them. And so we were away in Paris 2 years ago, and so we never got the notifications because we're moving around. So we're moving around from Blairgowrie to South Yarra in Victoria. So we leave our property. I don't get any of the notifications that we've had fines on our company. No worries. Okay, 3 weeks ago, got a letter from Vic Road saying, hey, like, we're going to shut down these cars and we're going to deregister them because you haven't actually paid the fines. We didn't know what the fines were. I was like, all right, cool. No worries. I'll pay the fines. What are they? They're going to be a few $100. So I call up Vic Roads and I say, hey, like, this is my customer number. Do you have my account? They pull open my account. She's like, yeah, you've got 4 fines. I'm like, okay, cool. Can I pay them? Because, I don't want to get pulled over by the cops if you're going to deregister my cars. And she's like, that'll be $15,920. And I was just like, excuse me? Sorry, what? It's like $15,920. I'm like, what do you mean? We've got 4 fines. What did I do? Did I run 100 Ks over the limit or some shit? No, she's like, hey, no, like, I'm looking at most of your speeds. They're under 10 kilometers. And I'm like, well, why are they $15,900? Almost 16K. And she's like, oh, look, sir, it's because, and no, actually, she didn't say sir, because the pricks on these Vic roads, they're very pompous. These government workers are super pompous when you talk to them, right? I don't really talk to them, but they're really like, oh, well, the Karen, we shall call her. Oh, well, no, they're under the company and you need to nominate a driver. And I've never ever experienced this. And I'm like, okay, cool. Can you nominate a driver? And it's like $300 and demerit points. And she's like, oh, no, we can't because it's past the nomination date. And I said, well, what's the choices? What are the options? She's like, well, the options are you just pay this or, you get deregistered. And I'm like, well, I suppose I'm going to have to pay this. And that was shocking to me. Not because it sideswiped me in the place. Now, I'm going back to the original story here, which was most people think that they're okay in the box, and yet they don't recognize that their income is okay, keeping them on the edge of just being alive. And yet when there's a moment like this where you cop a fine, you cop a bill, you cop a tax bill, your family has to go to hospital, you have to pay for someone's cancer treatment, do you freak the fuck out? Because you don't recognize that everybody's just living on the box. And the moment that something comes across and smacks you over the head and says, here you go, here's 30 grand that you have to pay. Here's 16 grand that you have to pay. If you don't have the ability to produce, you freak the fuck out. So in that moment, I'm like, all right, what do I do? Shit, this is annoying, but roger that. It is what it is. Like, cool. I just have to figure out with this skill All right, cool, 16K. But you give that same scenario to somebody that's inside of a box that tells me, oh, I'm okay, I'm comfortable. It's not for me. I'm doing good. I'm doing okay. You give that situation, you're doing comfortable, assuming that everything stays the same. You're doing comfortable, assuming that life does not hit you in the balls and the face and does not smack you around and says, hey, here you go. Here's a 20K fine. Or here you go. Your dad needs treatment for cancer. And it's going to cost, oh, no, it's not even your dad. Look, let's be real. Your daughter needs treatment or she won't hear ever again. It's $25,000. What the fuck do you do? Or your wife's about to. So we're all okay until life comes at you. Because we think that it's going to be like this. We think our only bills are the water bill, the gas bill. By the way, as well, the more you make, the more bills you'll suddenly just come up creeping at you. People will start fucking asking you for shit. Like we have investment properties and suddenly like there's extra land tax and there's like double land tax. I'm like, what the fuck is this? We don't even need property. I'm like, property is actually taking my focus off making money and like making me pay for some bullshit that isn't really even the property's not even making me money. Get the fuck out of property. So this is the thing that people don't understand when they go invest in property, you have to recognize that when you have a skill and you go all in that skill, the biggest ROI is that skill. It's not going to invest in property because you recognize that when you have to fix that property, do all the shit, there's not a lot of money in it. And the people that actually make money in the property is the government, the lawyers, and the fucking real estate agents. And you're left with all the shit. And you don't realize this until you actually get to a place. But you're sold on the whole idea at the bottom that this is what you need. Okay, everybody that has property, I'm like, oh yeah, tell me, how's the property going? Whereas the skill, you can actually build. You can actually build skills. You can actually make money quicker, faster, better. It's like the better you get at your skills and your craft, the more money you can make. And like property, it's this slow burning thing over time. Okay. Now, is it not a bad idea to store money and keep money and like save money? Yes. If you suck at managing money and you need a place to store it because you can't stop spending it, sure. But that's not because property is good. It's just because you have shitty spending habits and that if you can't even maintain money in your bank account with it going broke. That's not property being good. That's just you sucking. So I'm going to go back to the original thing, which is most men think that they're okay in the box. Like I can talk to people in my, that's related to me. Look, I'm doing okay. Yeah, you're doing okay for now because you just think that all your bills are water bill, house bills, shopping bills, etc. And you got it sorted. But life hasn't hit you yet. And life will come in and hit you. And the question is, are you prepared for that moment?
There's levels as well. Like business owners, what happens if you get a $5, $6, $7-figure bill or lawsuit?
Yeah, they freak out. And it look, the reality is here it is. Being a business owner is one of the hardest things in the world. Like it is, because most of us start a business because we have something good and we're just like, fucking let's go become a business owner because I don't want to work for anybody. Cool. So then you start becoming a business owner, you start doing some shit, and then you start to recognize shit. There's a lot more with being a business owner. Firstly, being able to make money and being able to make money consistently on a day-to-day basis. Okay, that's the first part. The second part is then fuck shit. We're making a lot of money, but I don't have time. I'm all stressed out. So then figuring out how to hire people for the very first time. Shit, you've never hired anybody and you're going to recognize that people are not that clever. So you're going to hire people and then it's just a waste of time. So you go back into that little conundrum. And then as you're trying to figure out this game between trying to make money, hire people and fire people at the same time and keeping everything together, suddenly every quarter you got a little tax bill coming along saying, hey man, by the way, just don't forget. And you're like, what the fuck is BAS? Right? So the transition is, what is this? What is this whole thing? What is this whole idea? And why do I have to pay this person? Why do I have to pay? There's all these things that come up as the more employees you hire, the more insurance that you have to pay, work cover insurance, and shit just comes up at you, right? So not only are people in a box, but getting out of the box ain't easy too. Because it's like a jungle out there with a lion and a tiger and they're all coming after you. And at the same time, you have no food. It's like literally Survivor. You have no food. You're running around trying to find food. By the time you find food, you're like, oh, fuck, I'm out of food. And I get why people stay in the same box. But the reality is this. Staying in the box leads to no prosperity for you. Leads to absolutely no prosperity. At least if you get outside the box and you learn the only way to win is to work on your skills and to get so fucking good that you become so undeniable that it's impossible for you to fail. Like, that's it. That's the only guarantee that you'll have in life. Staying in the box, no guarantee. Cool, you got a steady job for now. Cool, you're comfortable. Great. Wait till you get a bill. Wait till your son or daughter has cancer and you have to fucking fork out tons of money. Wait till you have a car accident and it's your fault. Or even if you have a car accident, it's not your fault. They don't have insurance. Whatever the case is, your life is going to get at you. And then you're going to freak the fuck out because you've just been trained to be in a box and you're not going to know how to handle it. Then your wife will look at you and she'll be like, man, I don't want to be with this guy because he's like a little girl. If I wanted to marry a girl, I'd be a lesbian, but I'm not a lesbian, and I need a man to look after me because I have just sacrificed my whole entire career just to look after his kids. And actually, I've lost as a woman. She gives up her identity to actually serve the family, and I truly believe that's like the most noble thing women do. They like mothers, not women. Mothers sacrifice their body. They fucking get the life drained out of them. If you've ever seen, like, every time a mum breastfeeds, she's thirsty. It's just life force getting sucked out of her. It's the essence of sacrifice. Okay, and as she's sacrificing herself, she's looking to the man for support, for fucking, like, hey, men, can you give me support? Can I count on you to fucking bring home some bread? Can I count on you to just be there to help out as I'm sacrificing myself? And men are like, nah. And so foundationally, that's where shit goes wrong. Fundamentally, that's why we're here. We talk about roles and responsibilities, but foundationally, that truly, if you're a man in the box, it's a fucking hard life in the box. And it's also a hard life outside of the box. But Alex, would you ever go back in the box where your ability to produce is taken away from you? No. Because you know, just like me, life is going to throw you some curveballs, and you know that you don't want to be the guy that puts your hands up and says, I surrender, and says, sorry, tax bill, I don't know, I don't have the money. And then you have to beg your uncles and borrow. But man, I love this because this is the shit that nobody talks about. This is the real shit that men face, you and me, fathers, that we have to deal with, the responsibilities. And I'm just trying to articulate it and lay out the truth, the facts. I deal with this shit every day. It's not easy to deal with, by all means. It's like a daily burden that sits on your shoulders and nobody knows.
It's making money is such a competitive game too, man. So inherently, as a man, you should always be in a position where you can make more and produce and provide. And I look back at my life with all the problems, all the challenges I had with Corinne, the breakdown 7 years ago. It was all around money, and she gave up her entire identity to have Stella. And Lillian and Roman, we did IVF for the first two, and I look at all this.
What was the breakdown? Like you were running your gyms. She just became a mum for the first time. She's like she's trying to deal with the whole change, right?
Yeah. It just became tension because I didn't have the money. The business wasn't doing good, man, to financially provide for her, to take away some of the stress of being a mum for the first time with health issues. And this is what I mean. It just stacks and compounds, where if money can solve the problem, a nanny once a week, like something as simple as that, man. And then from there became a drift. And then that's why we stopped communicating. And then,
I suppose money's the first layer. It's not. It doesn't solve all the problems. It's the first layer, and generally, it's quite a lot of the big problem. Hey, if you had more money, just chill the fuck out and have more patience for each other. You had more money so that if your daughter accidentally broke a glass, you didn't fucking lose your shit because you have to buy a new one. If you just had money for your wife to just go and just treat herself to a fucking massage because her body's aching from fucking carrying the kids all day. So it's not everything, but it actually buys you space, and it buys you time and breathing room. And with that breathing room, you can actually begin to communicate and process things correctly. Okay, cool. Hey, are we good? What do you need? But it all gets so confusing because money seems to be the thing, but nobody wants to admit it because there's so much shame in it. It's like, oh, you don't produce enough money. Oh, but you don't do work. And then it becomes blame. And it's like, well, maybe the truth is you don't produce enough money. Is there anything wrong with that? No? Okay, cool. So there's absolutely nothing wrong in not producing any more money, right? It's just a fact. It is what it is. And you literally go, roger that. That's why I go, hey, if anything happens, if there's tension, I'm not producing it, roger that. But it just becomes, money is so attached to your ego in terms of who you are defined as a man. And the reality is most people don't want to be exposed on how shitty they are, how little they've performed in life, how little they've performed as a responsibility. Does that make sense? When we talk about this, it attacks the ego, it attacks the sense of self, it attacks the identity to go, have I even performed? It's just like when you attack somebody that's fat. And I was saying this to you the other day. If you attack somebody that's fat, but they're like a CrossFit champion, they don't give a fuck. They're like, dude, I'm fat, but I'm CrossFit champion. I could outperform you any day. It's not, the problem isn't that people are fat. It's because what you're inherently saying is you're saying that they're lazy. You're attacking their character. You're not attacking the physical side. Fat means lazy. You're upset because they're calling you lazy, and it's true. Because I guarantee you, if you're fat, like cool, I'm pudgy sometimes, right? You can attack me, but at the end of the day, I know I put in the work. And I'm like, cool, I'll be able to outsprint you. I'll be able to probably out wrestle you. Probably be able to outlift you. So therefore, your words don't really have an effect on me because I'm not lazy. But people are offended because fat equals lazy. So you're not upset because you're fat. You're upset because you're lazy. And the craziest part about being lazy is you get to change that. So that's a really interesting fact. But going back to this, we need more men to gather together. And if this is something that resonates, if you are a man struggling and you're like in the box, you're like, Lynn, I'm in the box, and I hear you. I had a few fines. I was doing a speeding ticket, or something came up, and I had to come up with money, and it stressed me the fuck out. And I don't want to be put in that position. Well, then you have to learn a skill. And maybe if you're a man outside of the box and you're in the jungle going, fuck, man, this is really tough because I can't even get back to stage 1. I don't even know how to make more money. Right? Because there's stage 1, it's make money. Okay, cool. Stage 2 is scale your product and get a team in there, right? Like that's it. Like if you can do that, that's good. And then there's stage 3, it's like balancing the books when you actually make money. Okay, so then there's like the tax office looking at you and going, hey, every fucking quarter, you better balance your books or we'll audit your ass. And if you've ever been audited, you'll know it's probably the most painful shit because your mind's not focusing on making money, your mind's focused on not getting into prison. Right? So like it's a whole game of like, it's not as easy as let's focus on making money. Because as you grow, as you know this, as you grow, there's management and there's other things that are going to take attention from your mind from just making money. There's stupid bullshit that comes up. Okay? Like team members that are going to come in and stop you and tell you that this isn't good enough. We've experienced that. And it slows down the whole entire vehicle. You're going to have people that are coming in and giving their opinions and shit. And it just slows everything down. And the whole game is that you should be fast and easy because it's just a game of let's make money and let's deliver on our service. That's it. Now, we deliver by having more people help out deliver on the service. Cool. We make more money by marketing and selling shit. Okay, cool. So it becomes very complicated. People lose their shit. And this is the journey of a business owner stepping outside the box and then going into the jungle. And that's why many men don't make it. We talk about, you ask me, why don't men make it up the mountain? What, at the bottom? Because at the bottom, man, you're just in the box. You're in the box and you believe all the stories of people in the box. You have no idea what's outside the jungle for the very first. It's only stories. But in the box, you're just like, oh yeah, it's really scary out there. At least that's my take. You've gone through about 1,000, 2,000 consults this year with men. What is one big thing? Like what's pissed you off the most about men that you talk to and they haven't done anything because of this particular reason? What's the reason that they give? Like what are the excuses that men are throwing out there to like stay the same? To go, hey, you know what? I won't fucking get better. You know what? I won't develop myself. Hey, you know what? What's that one big thing that's like kind of pissed you off? What's maybe a consult, a call, a conversation you've had that's been really annoying?
The biggest thing, man, which is probably fundamentally across the board, the exact same thing, is they just don't take ownership. Their words don't match their actions. So they say they want this, and that. I want to have an amazing marriage. I want to build my business, make more money. I want to be back in shape again. I want to have I want to build a legacy. And your actions don't fucking match, bro. You've got to check with your wife. Money's a little bit tight right now. Go make some fucking more and then commit to yourself. You don't even invest in yourself. You just told me that you've spent thousands of dollars on drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
Like it's just, it's at the root cause. It's lying.
Yes. What you're telling me is that most men that you talk to are full of shit. They've just lied. They've just been so conditioned to lie. And they've been so conditioned to like just make promises to their wife and their people and not actually follow through. They've just been lying to people, right? And then they'll say that they want to change. They're like, "Hey, baby, I'm ready. This is it, baby. Give me one more chance." That's very frustrating. I genuinely think like I told you this at the start. Being in the box and being outside the box, it's the hardest game in the world. But if you fucking lie and you trick yourself and you believe it, like if you lie and you believe it, which is you justify it, then you're just fucked because nobody can help you outside of the box.
No.
Okay. It just becomes really difficult to win. Your family don't trust you. It becomes really difficult to win if you don't have your partner's trust. Yeah, this is why we're putting this together, my friend.
Pal.
We're saying the most
Sport.
offensive things that you could call a brother. Hey, pal. Hey, dude. Hey, man. Now it's hey, friend. My friend. Yeah.
I've never done this to anyone older than me. Not that we're really young anymore, but I fucking hate it when people younger than me used to call me buddy. I was like, hang on. I'm not fucking 10 years of age and I'm older than you.
Hey, buddy.
So I'd never say that to any man, you know, obviously paying my respects. But yeah, buddy's a big one. Yeah, a bit sad, man. These lies, like that's why I say ignorant.
Lies,
you know, the whole like the stories they tell them. That's why I asked. Do you think it's ignorance? But that's what it is. They create all these little stories. It's like, man, like if you're telling me this now, like what's going on at home? You told me part of what's happening in your marriage, but there's so much more to that to your wife. The gaps you mentioned. There's so many gaps.
Well, yeah, then that's a big one. I think, you know, I think I've lived a life where I've gone through a lying stage, a posturing stage, and now I'm at a stage where it's like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm just so open, and I'm an open book that I'm like, hey, if you want to know anything, just ask me, and I'll tell you directly, and this is how it is. And I think back to the years that I did lie. And more importantly, those years were in my childhood when I was living with my parents. And quite often I would lie about shit. I'd lie about taking their money, stealing their money. I would lie about coming home late because I'd go to my friend's house, but, you know, I have to stay at school study clubs and shit. I'd lie about everything to my parents. And I started to think back as I had kids. I'm like, why did I lie? What kid has the audacity to learn lying? Like, when do kids learn how to lie? Why do they have to lie? Because generally, innately, what I started to recognize, I had to lie for survival because my parents didn't want to hear the truth. They didn't accept the truth. And the truth was never rewarded. It was always, tell me that you're a good son and tell me that you're studying. I don't want to hear anything else. Okay, I'm a good son, I'm studying. Tell me, like, does that make sense? And the lies came from fear. It was the fear of being ostracized, teased, bullied, etc., etc. And so people lie because there is so much of that, because the truth is not rewarded. The truth is not praised. And it generally starts from generational. So if I can move on to my family, it's like kind of like, I felt like I had to lie so that I didn't get in trouble. And so it wasn't until probably I was 23, 24 until I broke that pattern. Because in my 20s too, there's the lies, but then it kind of tones down itself. There's a lies to impress people when you're out on dates. Hey, I've got this going on. I've got a supplement company. And it's the lies to do with chicks, right? And then there's the lies with your boys. It's like the little lies that you have to do when you're with your boys and you're like, oh yeah, what are you doing? Oh, I'm just doing so much, man. Yeah, I've got so much on. Well, fuck, I could probably, if I was coaching myself now, I'd be like, what are you got on? If I was hot seating, the 18-year-old version of Lynn, he would be fucked because I would be able to see straight through that shit. I'm like, tell me what you got. You got nothing on. Absolutely fucking nothing. So say you have nothing, man. And that's how relationships are truly built and valued. So I get it. I get that men lie and it becomes this thing from very earlier on. And at least me, if I didn't change, that could have tapered on and been passed on. One of the people that's been the most integral to my life to be able to help me is Garrett White from Wake Up Warrior. And just that moment to have permission to own who you are was just an eye-opening experience to go, hey man, I this is me. If you like me, fucking fan. If you don't like me, that's also okay. Cool. But I am who I am and I'm not going to hide. And it allowed me, really that experience allowed me to step outside and have a conversation with my parents about their parenting and to go, hey, as a kid, this is how I felt. Now, I could never have that conversation with them before that experience because I could never, ever. You're an Asian guy trying to tell your dad, hey, dad, you didn't treat me well. What do you think he's going to do? He's going to smack the fuck out of you, right? Immigrants, just smack. How dare you? Fuck, like, what do you? But it was the courage that I was able to have with my parents and go, hey, this is how I felt as a kid. This is what's going on. This is not on. And then allow myself to step out of that relationship if we didn't actually come together and bond through connection, truth, transparency, honesty, and we kind of just had to weave our way through shit. Because if you're an Asian culture, any immigrant culture, status is the biggest thing. Like my parents, my dad would talk about me in a way where it's like he'd always make me look good to other people. Like if we met up with my uncles and shit, he'd always be like, Lynn's the best, he's fucking crushing, killing it, but never to my face. He'd say it. He'd always be like, what do you know? You're not the best. Like, you're not that smart. You can study harder. But to everybody else outside, there was a facade. It's like, oh, my son's the best, man. He's killing it. And yeah, his sister's a doctor and we're so proud. And it was like everybody just thought we had the fucking perfect family. And it was just this whole facade. And so that's that disconnect. And here's the thing. Where did I learn to lie? I learned to lie upstream. Because I saw lying, that's all I adopted. But it wasn't until I worked with Garrett and we just worked through this place of going, hey man, you don't have to lie. Like you have to find that place. Why are you lying? You don't have to lie. You can honestly be yourself and it's okay. And that was for me. That may not be the experience of other men that lie. But if you continue to lie, then you cannot build a foundation you can't be honest with your wife and children. They cannot trust you. They know you're lying. Your wife will know and see through all of your shit more than anything else because she spends the most time with you. You cannot lie to her.
Yeah, it takes courage too, man. And I think there's an approach to this as well. And this is definitely, hopefully, sounding the right way where it's supporting what you're saying, where what's most important is bringing up the truth, not necessarily trying to find and tell all truths. That's beige, that's black. You're 3 kilos over. Well, like, you don't have fucking time for that. The people that matter most, what matters most to your life is owning the most important truths and all of those.
Yeah.
And that takes courage, man. You're right. Like these guys on these calls, it's
takes courage.
I don't know if it's us or if it's them just basically saying, no, I don't think my family's worth paying that much money. Like, that's how I know I can be extreme, but I'm like, that's bait. Don't tell me I'll get back to you and I'll check with my wife. And because they're afraid of the same thing. People lie because of fear of rejection or the pursuit of social acceptance. Same thing, opposite side.
I think there's another thing that we've lost in society, and it's reputation. It's a man that has his word and men that honor their word. There's no more honoring the word. The word means absolutely nothing. Men can say stuff and they can get away with it. And the reasons why word was so important before was if you didn't keep your word, there was a consequence. You'd have bad reputation. You'd be ostracized. You'd be kicked out of the tribe. You'd be like, this guy's a fucking liar. Do not trust him. And so respect and honor is such a big thing because it was all you had. And right now you don't need to have it, right? Because right now you can just tap up, scroll up, swipe right, left, etc., and move on to the next thing. You because the tribes were so small where you could only know 15, 20 people. If you did not keep your word, it was like you're out of the tribe. Now, cool, you can go find a new tribe. You can flake around. You can go and fly out to a different part of the world and meet new people. So there is no incentive to keep your word. But back then, I suppose there was, because if you didn't keep your word, you'd be kicked out. You'd have nowhere to go. And so when I look at keeping your word, I genuinely believe that that's something that it is so integral to trust. Did you do what you said you would do? Did you, like for us, it's like, did you wake up in the morning? Okay, cool. Did you do some planning? Okay, cool. Did you get some shit done? Okay, cool. Did you eat well? Cool. Okay, cool. Then I've kept my word today. And that's such a strong, powerful thing. But yeah, imagine so that. The point of this is this: we are here to help men. I'm here to help myself. I'm here to help Alex, as we are all in the same fucking boat. This is not a game of nobody's in this boat. This is a game of, hey, like, we just need to help each other get out of the boat. If you are struggling financially, it's going to get harder. Like, fuel prices, food prices, all that shit, that's going to keep going up. Housing is going to get more, it's going to get more expensive. Your jobs will be worthless because AI and automation will come in and they'll cut your jobs. And so it's this game of going, shit, how do you look into the future and figure out that the only person that has full control of it is you and your skill sets? Why? And why does money matter? Because it is integral to building. It is integral to building and having options to build a good family home. Okay, to allow yourself to support your wife, to allow yourself to give patience to your children. That's why it matters. But yeah, I believe that is past the hour mark. Do you have anything else to add?
Good chat. No, I really like it, man. Like I like when you and me have these sorts of chats on or off air. You know, it's great just to continually.
Well, we do have these chats off air. I have a lot of, we have a lot of these chats off air. And we've all got our struggles. Like I'm sitting here with, my struggle to figure out what is that next thing. How do I privately educate Ocean and Atlas? How do I support Kerry when she does want to get back to work and she doesn't feel fulfilled just being a mum? Like, how do I then kind of taper that in? Like there's different struggles. The hardest struggle is always at the fucking bottom. Like, no fucking doubt about that. Like, if you're broke, you have got no money, you're fucking in a shit show with your wife, you're arguing, it feels like there is so much pressure on you because you don't have time. And the reasons why you don't have any time, it feels like you have no time. Everything becomes walking on eggshells. You say the one thing wrong, it fucking blasts up. There's no patience. There's no time, right? You don't have time because you don't have the money. Money gets you back to time. So in that place, and quite often we now allude to this third argument, the reasons why you're there is you have been a man that has not been keeping his word for whatever reason. You said shit, you didn't do it. Okay, whatever fucking reason that you have. And the last part that I might leave you with is you don't need therapy. You don't need to you don't need to like find yourself as well, because we'll talk about nuding yourself. And cutting off your balls on the next episode with all this hippie shit that's going to stop you from being the best version because you're losing the feel. Until next time, my friend, guys, comment down below. Let us know what you think. But more importantly, what do you do? Like, are you an accountant? Are you a bookkeeper? Are you a tradie? Are you a trucker? Are you a builder? Fuck, I'd love to get to know builders. I would. I would love a contact list of builders because building costs have like tripled since COVID. And you guys are highly sought after. So, like, there's so much connection to be had here. But the conversation needs to be started.